On the build show today, we're going to show you a beautiful epoxy floor that, believe it or not, you could do it yourself. Garages, mechanical rooms, basements, very easy product. It only took us 6 hours over 2 days to get this gorgeous floor. Today's build show is sponsored by Easyground. Let's get going.
That thing has some power.
All right, guys, so we're in the initial phase here of the project. We're doing the scarification. Let me take the mask off so you can hear me a little better. And we've got new construction slabs, so we want to make sure that that Easyground has something to actually bite into or tooth into the concrete. And new concrete, especially trowel finish, not broom finish, is going to have a lot of smooth kind of cream on the top. And so let me dust away a little bit of this concrete dust so you can kind of see what I've done here. So here's the section that I did last right here. And I'm coming down this section. You can see here, this has this kind of gray, smooth cream on the top. And when you look over here, that's gone. And it's kind of scarred, and you're seeing a little bit of the aggregate now. And you're seeing almost like sanding marks, like this was a really bad job of sanding wood with like 40 grit sandpaper. And that's pretty much what this is. I don't know what grit it is, but it's probably something like that. 60 grit maybe, 40 grit, I'm not totally sure. But this is a flap wheel with diamonds on it. This thing's a little hard to control. You have to kind of take it into your body. And I found if I hold the wheel, because it's rotating like this, if I hold the handle on my body, that allows me a little bit more control to get a hold of it. And what we're going to do is we're basically going to go in stripes all the way through the garage, get rid of this cream coat, and then we'll get the shop vac out, clean it up, and we'll be ready for the primer coat. So we'll see you in a minute. All right, guys, so the primer coat is done. Let me talk you through how we got to this stage today. So yesterday, you saw me doing the prep. We basically scarified the whole floor. We made sure that we made a good surface for the primer to bond to. And then we're using the same products for primer and for final coat. But when we mixed this one, we turned it into a primer by adding water. Now, one really cool thing about Easyground is that in these two buckets, they're giving you everything you need. This is an epoxy product, but believe it or not, it's a water-based epoxy. I don't know what the secret sauce is there. Normally, epoxies and water do not get along well, but you've got part A in the big bucket, part B is in a bag in this smaller bucket, and they've left you room so that when you mix the part B into the A, you can actually do it in this bucket. You don't need a second bucket. And then what we did was we added 24 ounces of water to thin this down a little bit, to turn it into the primer coat. So after we shot back the floor and got it prepped, the primer coat starts with the edges. We basically are using a brush, an angled, long-handled brush, to brush all the corners. And oh, by the way, we got all these accessories from Easyground as well. They've got all that to sell you. So we did all the edges first, and then we came in and did the body. It's a pretty quick process. You know, the initial grinding probably took about 2 hours, but the primer coat almost exactly 1 hour to put that primer down. So it took us actually more time to prep than to actually do that first coat, not long at all. One tip that I did figure out though at the end of the day was this right here. Let's come over here. You can see on this primer coat, there's a couple of places like right here where you've got just a little extra material where you can kind of see a little bit of a, I don't know, a ridge, let's say, in the epoxy. This is not a self-leveling product, so you need to roll it out evenly. And I think what happened was we pushed it, but we didn't bring it back. So when we do the final coat today, we're gonna make sure that when we're rolling, we're back rolling everything back towards us, and that's gonna get a nice and even coat. But this is our primer, so I'm not super worried about a few irregularities. And when we do the top coat today, we're gonna throw a flake on it, which is gonna help kind of camouflage some of those weird things happening in the slab. You'll notice a few things here, like I've got a leaf that settled in the slab when we were probably doing the finishing. And then there's a couple of scars from who knows what. That's gonna kind of go away and hide when we use that flake coat on there. Now you could use sand on the floor as well if you wanted traction. The flakes are gonna provide traction for us. I actually thought about sand, but I had a sand epoxy floor in a prior garage of mine, and I felt like it was hard to clean. That sand kind of traps the dirt, and it makes it hard to mop and clean. So I decided not to go with the sand. The other kind of downside of using sand is once you throw that sand in that second coat, you actually need to go back with a third coat to lock that sand in place and to cover it. So in this case, I'm gonna flake it. We'll have 2 coats and we're done. So with that being said, let's get going on our second coat. All right guys, here's the finished product. Isn't that nice? Look how those flakes kind of camouflage, look, this leaf imprint or imperfection in the slab. I love how this is just a simple 2-coat system. As I said earlier, we did this in about 6 hours of total work time. Now we let this dry over the course of the weekend, but really you could let it dry for 24 hours or bring your stuff back in. You just want to give it 72 hours before you actually drive a car on top of this. I think this would be a great DIY system for garages, for mechanical rooms, for sheds, really any space that you want a durable floor that things are not gonna kind of seep into in the future. I mean, this is a great floor because now oil is not gonna seep in here. It's gonna make this garage really easy to clean, and it's nice and uniform. Guys, big thanks to my friends at Easy Floor. They actually have a discount code I'm gonna put in the link in the description, but overall, this is a pretty straightforward system and it's actually pretty inexpensive. We bought $600 of materials to get to this stage. That's of the Part A, Part B epoxy paint. And then we had maybe $50 in extra supplies between rollers and brushes and that sort of thing. Check their coverage rates though on the website because we ended up actually using a little less than I thought. And in fact, we probably could have used 1 less gallon than we actually needed or than their square footage calc at the time showed. So make sure you read their directions and find out. But for 650 bucks in materials, let's see, we had about $80 in rental for the buffer, and then we had like 6 hours of labor. So for that, to get a floor like this, not bad at all. Anyways, big thanks to Easyground. We'll put a link to those guys in the description, and if you're not currently a subscriber to The Build Show, hit that subscribe button below. We've got new content here every Tuesday and every Friday. Follow me on Twitter or Instagram, otherwise we'll see you next time on The Build Show.